Alexios opened his eyes after a deep sleep, and it was a day like any other. He was chained on a wall in a deep, dark cave with several other people. He could see, just barely, his arms hanging above him because his head was restrained by an iron cage. He could only look straight ahead and gaze upon a smooth, rocky wall. But this was normal. Alexios had lived most of his life here, at least up to what he could remember. He yawned. Upon the wall that day danced the shadows, like they always did. Always changing, always morphing from one shape to the next. It was a visual wonder, and it was easy to watch them for hours. Not only because that was all he was able to do, but also because he was always curious about their nature. What were the shadows? Where did they come from? Sometimes they created circles, like his belly button. Sometimes squares, like his toenails. At other times, the shapes changed to things that were incomprehensible. Odd noises echoed in the room a few times a day, accompanying the shadows like mysterious secrets. Alexios and the others called it shadow talk, but it was normal too. It was all part of life. The world to Alexios was an immobile one, with only the shadows on the wall in front of him to give him a visual connection to it. He would talk to his cellmates, but they always talked about the silhouettes in front of them. It was the only thing they knew. Alexios was just nodding off to sleep when he heard a series of odd thuds and clanks. A soldier appeared in front of him, fumbling around with a key. The soldier took off Alexios's chains, restraining his arms, then the iron cage restraining his head. He fell to the ground, but the soldier pulled him up. Alexios was discomforted by the process, mostly physically, but psychologically too. Not being able to move your entire life would do that to a person. You and the others always talk about the damn shadows like they're all that matters. Like they are real. You've been fooled, the soldier spoke. But now you are about to see the truth. Open your eyes. The soldier took the hilt of his long metal sword and smacked Alexios on the back of his head. He dragged him around the corner of the wall, which he now realized didn't even connect to the ceiling. And there in front of him was a giant blaze of light that blinded him. Alexios screamed out and closed his eyes. The shadows aren't real, the soldier claimed. They're just caused by this fire. The soldier picked up various objects, putting them in front of the fire, then pointing to the shadows it created. He also explained that it was him making sounds, not the shadows. Alexios turned away in fright, unable to look. "Please stop," he said. "Take me back. It can't be true." Alexios pleaded with the soldier to end the misery and take him back to his chains where it was normal, to where the world made sense. The soldier once again hit Alexios and picked him up. Instead of bringing him back to his chains, he dragged him down a narrow passage leading upwards. The darkness of the cave became the light of day as Alexios was brought outside. The soldier demanded that he open his eyes and accept the true reality. But it was hard. He kicked and screamed, pleading for normalcy in a fit of terror. He was blinded, unable to see, so accustomed to darkness and shadows. Eventually, however, Alexios's eyes, accustomed to the light outside the cave and the brilliant contrasts thereof, and to the reflections of the above world, and most importantly, to the sun. "Your shadows are not reality," the soldier said, "only a byproduct of it." Alexios stared at the mountains and the trees and the walking animals. He saw the sun and how it created the shadows everywhere. It was then he broke out of his stupor and accepted the abundance of his new reality, to reason about it. "Why?" he asked. "Your family were robbers, so we took you as repayment," the soldier said, laughing. "Imprisoned you as an experiment on what humans would accept as reality. It's all a sick joke, funny though. But you're free now." Alexios cried, feeling blessed about the change. He raced back into the cave to tell his fellow prisoners about the revelation. Upon returning, however, he became blind again because his eyes were now adjusted for the light of day and not the darkness of the cave. When he tried explaining to them his experience and his desire to free them, they spit on him in disgust. "Look at you, you are blind," they exclaimed. "Going outside this room caused you harm. Go away at once." Saddened, Alexios left the room, guided once more by the soldier. They will never understand. They never do, not until they see for themselves. That evokes the change. "Now by decree of the army and the king, we declare your family's debt paid. Go and be free." Alexios left the cave and never came back, forever changed. This story was inspired by Plato's allegory of the cave, in which prisoners are locked in a cave and are only able to see shadows upon a wall for most of their life. Shadows a normal person would understand are reflections caused by a light source. But for a prisoner whose only experience are shadows on a wall, this is their reality. This is their truth, one that is greatly constrained by the limit of their perceptions. Plato's allegory asks readers to imagine the shift in reality that might occur for a prisoner who is shown the truth that human beings are drastically limited by their perceptions and interpretation of it. Imagine tasting fruit for the first time in your adult life after eating oatmeal for 50 years. No joke, I think your mind would explode. Similarly, Alexios has his reality shattered when he is shown that shadows aren't the only thing the world consists of, and that his almost two-dimensional perception of the world was fake. I think this is a story with a lot of good morals. No, not the terrible psychological torture going on here, but the implied message behind the way we look at the world, that people with different experiences and different backgrounds look at their reality in completely different ways. And it poses very interesting questions like, how much of our own perception of the world and the truths as we perceive them are grounded in reality? Alexios walked out of the cave into a new reality. The astronauts landing on the moon entered a new reality. What might happen when humans are able to further expand our reach outward? Might that now also cause a fundamental shift in what we perceive as truth? On a similar note, are humans limited to what we can uncover based on the constraints of our senses? Is the new reality Alexios entered into the one that is most fundamentally true? Perhaps based on our senses, it is. It is also worth mentioning that knowledge and intellect plays a huge role in the moral of the story too. And those do not just reflect how we come to understand the world itself, but also all the happenings that occur inside of it as well. That we are limited by our willingness to accept new experiences. If the soldier did what Alexios wanted and chained him back up to the wall before bringing him outside, then his world would never have expanded. Sometimes finding new truths can be scary, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't look. And that doesn't mean we won't be better off in the end. In any case, Plato's allegory of the cave is one of my favorite stories because it challenges us to challenge ourselves to think outside the box as to how our own perception of the world is influencing our understanding of it. Alexios wouldn't have had many life prospects if he were to be stuck in the cave for his whole life. But once he was free, the experiences before him were unlimited. The story I told here is a fictional reimagining of the story, and I highly suggest if you are interested more in this topic, please read Plato's actual writings and the many interpretations behind it.